What's up YouTube? This is going to be your guide on how to use Articuno Galar in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. If you enjoy these, drop a like and let's get into it. Alright, so Articuno Galar is a Psychic and Flying type. Interesting typing, and it has the ability Competitive, so it's only got one ability compared to normal Articuno. So the first set we're going to be having a look here is going to be a Calm Mind Sweeper. So it is primarily a special attacker. As you can see, it's got a big special attack stat. It's like normal Articuno. It's got some good special defense as well. And its speed, it's all right. It's nothing amazing. It's 95 base speed. It would be better if I had like 100 or more, but that's how it is. Our first set here is going to be based around Calm Mind. So this Pokemon does actually have a way of boosting its stats. So Calm Mind is going to give it a nice boost in special attack and special defense, its two best stats. And we've got its signature move here, Freezing Glare. So Freezing Glare is 90 base power, 100% accuracy, and also has 10% chance to freeze the target as well. So not a bad move. It'd be good against like stalling Pokemon because you might eventually get a freeze. So you got 90 power there. It does have some other options on there. It does have stuff like Future Sight. You've got that. But obviously that takes 2 turns to hit too, which could work with Calm Mind. So that's another option. It has Psychic, which is like no point using... Well, I mean, the only benefit to using Psychic is you might get a 10% special defensive drop. That's the only benefit using that over Freezing Glare. But then again, you've got Calm Mind, so you could always boost your stats. But maybe in a situation you were going stat boost for stat boost against another Pokemon, that could definitely be useful. Or you've also got Psyshock as well. It's got a couple of psychic options. So Psyshock is going to be doing damage based on the target's defense. So you could make that like a mix attacker then. So that's an option. Or another one you've got is Psychic Noise too. Psychic Noise is a little bit weaker at 75 base power. But you can actually prevent someone from stalling for 2 turns, which is good. Plus, it also is a stun-based move too. So you could hit the opponent through substitutes and stuff like that. So there are a couple of options you can use this. I'd look at your whole team and go from there and see which one would be the best suited for it, right? That's my advice. So Hurricane, nice flying move there, you know, nice and powerful for sure. So as you can see with a Psychic and Flying type, it does struggle a bit against Dark type Pokemon for sure. And I think a couple of good Terras with this. So the first one I've got for Terra Blast is Terra Blast Fairy. That's going to give it some very, very nice coverage there for Dark type Pokemon. You know, Dragon type Pokemon. Fairy's a good type in general, so it's going to be very good for it. I gave this Boots as the item just because it's a flying type. It's not really going to appreciate entry as a lot in singles, of course, singles play. And with competitive, if you did get like a special attack drop, well, that's, you know, going to be even better. So you might be able to, you know, you might be lucky enough to get, or bait, say a Pokemon has a move that always drops stats, or you've got Intimidate Pokemon, you could try and swap it into there to try and play it that way too, if you wanted to. So if you're trying to swap things in a lot, Heavy Duty Boots is a good item there because you don't take any damage from entry hazards and stuff like that. Now, another Terra that could be beneficial on this could be Steel. Mainly because you're covering its weaknesses and such. Not so much for a Terra Blast, I would say. You could have something like... You also could have Air Slash here as well instead of Hurricane because it's more accurate. So that's another option too if you want to land those moves a bit more. But it is going to be significantly weaker in base power. So I just thought I'd mention that. Another move you could have over Terra Blast, if you want Steel on there, I would put Recover on there instead, and I would change that to Steel. Now that means it can't be toxic, so you can't get poisoned, which is good. you're going to be resistant to a lot of the moves you were weak to before. So obviously being steel, now dark's neutral to it. Rock's not very effective against it. Ice is not very effective against it. So you got a benefit there. So that's another way of doing it. But if you run steel, you want to have change your move set up a bit, because Terra Blast doesn't really help. But the other one does, though, for that other Terra there, Terra Fairy. You could have Terra Fairy, but I feel like why not have Terra Blast on there, right? EV spread, max special attack, and max speed, tip of nature, pretty straightforward for a sweeping calm mindset. All right, that's a bit more based on singles. Let's have a look at the next set. So the next set here is going to be a stored power set. So this runs fairly similar to the one I just showed you. However, the EVs are, definitely different. As you can see, we're running very, very defensive EVs, for sure. So I would have Calm Mind Recover for definitely. I mean, Calm Mind is the perfect move for stored power. So we've got Calm Mind Recover, which is excellent. So that's gonna give us a way to boost its special defense and special attack. So we got that covered nicely. Now with max health and max defense EVs, we're going to be super bulky on the defensive side as best as we can be. I mean, 85 isn't the greatest, so I'll give you that. But, with all that defensive investment and health investment, it's going to be good. And then we've got our stored power and Terra Blast Fairy. So this allows us to hit virtually everything. So stored power can hit everything that's not a dark type, and Terra Blast Fairy hits the dark types. Even steel types will get hit hard by stored power when you've got a lot of boost up. It's just such a powerful move. It stacks crazy. So, every stat boost plus 20, so Carmine, you're literally getting 40 base power straight from there, plus the additional 20 it starts with. And that's just one, right? And then with competitive, well, if someone increases your special attack, not on purpose, but if they do, that's only going to stack. It's only going to feed the fire, right, for stored power. Now, the item I gave this was Leftovers. I feel like that's more handy. Definitely more towards the end of the game, for sure. You've already got Recover there. So that's going to be useful at the start. You want to try and conserve your recovers though, because you've only got 8 of them. So just use recover when you need to. You can play a little bit risky depending on what the opponent has and stuff. So just be mindful what's on their team, what they've still got before you waste. You don't want to waste loads of recovers because you might need them down the track if you get critted or whatever. So Terra Fairy I like for this one. You could have Terra Psychic as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Just bear in mind, I don't think it gets dazzling, so you're gonna need something to hit. You definitely gonna need something to hit those dark types with, unless you've got a Pokemon on your team that's a fairy type already that can deal with that. That's how I'd go about running this set. Bold Nature, max defense, max health, mid-in special defense. I don't think you can go wrong with that. Stored power sets are very annoying to feint too, and it's got Recover too, which is a great move there for sure. To get some recovery off, and there's no real downside to it. It's not like Roost or Rest or anything like that. All right, let's have a look at some double sets now. All right, so I've got a couple of ways to run Articuno Galar in doubles. The first set is going to be a Trick Room set. So I know it's got 95 base speed and stuff, but room service does exist, and it can work pretty nicely on it, and it can benefit too. So firstly, we've got this real bulky Articuno set here. So we've got health and we've got special attack, quiet nature. So you want to try and get 0 IVs or as close to as possible, right? So you want to know good. So Trick Room, of course. So Trick Room, and they've got Expanding Force. So if this was partnered up with, say, Indeedee, that would be very, very good, because that can stop any priority, and it's going to power up Expanding Force, and it hits both opponents too, which is excellent. Then we've got Air Slash, which is going to be useful too, and we've got 30% chance to flinch them, and I put Protect on there too. So Protect is just there in case you get double targeted. You might want to, say there's no psychic terrain on the field and such like that. It's just handy to have that for scouting, right? Now, room service I've put on there because with no EVs and speed, you still are a bit fast, but with room service, your speed's going to get dropped by 1 stage. Plus, if someone uses knockoff on you, it's not going to be as effective because you don't have an item, right? And you, being a psychic type, you are weak to knockoff. So that's another benefit of not actually having an item there. Terra type psychic for expanding force. And yeah, that's the set there. I think I've tried it. It works very, very well, for sure. There are a couple of, I mean, you've got like ones. There's not too many Pokemon that can outspeed you after that room service. Now, you could have Iron Ball too. That's another item as well. The only thing is you are grounded then. And so you are going to be grounded and you are going to have an item. So knockoff, the first initial knockoff will do more. So just bear that one in mind. That's why I went for room service for. I felt like it was better for that. The only downside to room service is if you have to swap it out, and then when you swap it back in and put the trick room up, you then won't have that speed drop then. So Articuno may not outspeed stuff under Trick Room, like certain things. So that's the pros and that's the cons of room service versus Iron Ball there. So that's the first set, which is pretty good. But as I said, there are some Pokemon you can definitely team it up with. I like Indeedee. I think that's going to be a great sort of partner for this Pokemon. Works very, very well. Let's check out the next set here. So the next set is a speedy set. So I've got a slow set, Trick Room, and I've got a speedy set. They can both work. This one actually is pretty fun, and it counters quite a few Pokemon too in the actual metagame. I've used it before, and I had some good rage quits. So we've got a Tailwind Imprison Set. So this is really good for setting up Tailwind. So as you can see, our EV spread is optimized for Tailwind, and we've got extra bulk. And we've got 76 in speed, 180 in health for some extra bulk there. 76 in speed allows us to outspeed all the major threats easily. And then we've got just dump the rest into special attack with modest nature so it hits as hard as possible. So Adrenaline Orb is here. Say if say if Intimidate comes in, right? That's going to be good because I'll get a competitive boost and Adrenaline Orb will pop off too. So that'll increase my speed by 1 stage from Adrenaline Orb, and that'll use my item up too. So then moves like Knockoff are not going to be as strong. And then we've got competitive, so I'll get a special attack by 2. So initially, if someone brings in an Intimidate Pokemon, +2 in special attack, +1 in speed, boom. Right? So even without a Tailwind, it's going to be a threat in speed. So cool. It is a bit reliant on that for sure, but there are Intimidate Pokemon like Incineroar and stuff like that, which are problems for Articuno Galar. So Imprison's actually a very good move here because you're actually imprisoning Expanding Force and Tailwind, which are used a lot in doubles. So you've got a lot of Tailwind users, and you've got stuff like you've got like Expanding Force is used on many scary Pokemon for sure. So like Shadow Rider and stuff like that. So that's going to be a good way to stop 2 important moves. And it's only 1 extra slot you're using up there. You still got 2 other very important moves there to attack and another good status move too. Because it does have it's quite a barren Pokemon. So I feel like you could slop the Imprison onto there and that wouldn't affect it too much. But it's a bit more of a gimmicky set, but I've had some good success with it, and it's pretty fun actually. So you've got bulk, you're hitting hard, and I've given it Terra Psychic for Expanding Force, and you could run this with a Indeedee as well, or a Psychic Terrain Pokemon, which would be really good because that would stop Sucker Punch then, extreme speed, other annoying stuff like that. And you might get some flinches, and you can hit really hard too. Plus, if something comes out that you feel like, oh, that's got Tailwind or Expanding Force, give them Imprison, and they will not be able to use it. It will get completely sealed. So, cool Articuno set there for sure. Now, I've got another double set here, and we've got a Pimpnite special. Then we'll discuss some teammates, counters, and other stuff like that. All right, this next set is just a raw sweeping set, just straight up raw sweeping set for doubles. So Tailwind as well. We've got Life Orb this time as the item. So we're really, really trying to hit as hard as possible. we're sort of full going low accurate, like, 100% accurate moves. We're going for like power here. So we've got Tailwind and Hurricane, which are going to be hitting really hard. If you want to run this alongside something like Kyogre, it would be good, because that way Hurricane's going to land. Terra Blast Ground. So this would be good alongside Kyogre, as I mentioned, because you can use Terra Blast Ground to stop any Thunder Waving, and you can get around any electric types that would threaten Kyogre and, hit them back with it hard. And then we've got Freezing Glare as well. So Freezing Glare would be good for any fighting types and stuff like that. So that would be very, very handy. Plus, you might get a freeze, but it's a very small chance. It's a very, very small chance. But, some good powerful moves there, and a surprise Terra, I think would be good. And the EV spread, 180 and 76. I like this spread here for Articuno. It's good. It gives it good speed. It gives it good bulk. And it hits, you're hitting as hard as you possibly can with it. So that's another way how to run Articuno Galar in doubles. And let's have a look now at a Pimpnite special, and we'll discuss some counters and stuff, teammates and stuff like that. All right, so the Pimpnite special set, I always like to do these. You guys know that. We got a physical Articuno Galar. So we like to have a bit of fun with this last set. So I looked at its physical set, and it's pretty, it's bad. Let's be real. So competitive does nothing at all for it. So I thought straight away, we need skill swap, right? Skill swap could be good as well on another Pokemon. Just back to competitive for a sec. If you were to give another Pokemon, or you were to try and swap abilities, you could give Articuno skill swap too. You could maybe slot that in instead of Imprison. If you had, like, say if the opponent had an annoying ability, and if they were a physical attacker, you could give them competitive and get rid of that. Or you could give your ally competitive too. So just something to think about there. It does get skill swap. You might be able to make use of that. So back to the physical set. So we've got skill swap, dual wing beat. It does get that surprisingly. So we got 80 base or 240 hits there. Scope lens for a crit, and we've got Psycho Cut, which already has one. I was going to do a full critting set, but it didn't learn enough critical hitting moves, sadly. So Psycho Cut, we're hoping for a crit with Scope Lens. We've got 50% chance there with Scope Lens and Psycho Cut, or it has one stage. Brave Bird is its most powerful attack with 120 base. And then we've also got this too. Now, the reason I doubled up, because it doesn't learn any other moves. And I thought, we might be able to, like, this is just raw damage, and we might be able to get, like, a crit on one of these and then not, like, use our health up. So there you go, an incredibly powerful set there. Max speed and max attack, Jolly Nature, and Terra type flying, because we've got all the flying type moves in the world. You could find a Moxie Pokemon and you could skill swap them, then you could have Moxie on this thing, and then you'd really be rolling then. No one would ever expect that. If you come across a Steel type Pokemon, you could, honestly, go Terra Blast Ground too to get around Steel types if you figured out you were wall, but then you'd have to give up either Dual Wing Beat or Brave Bird for a physical set. I don't think anyone's using a physical set, but I just thought I'd mention that. Let's have a look at some counters and teammates now. All right, so as I mentioned before, any Pokemon that would work well with Articuno, we'll start from there. So Zacian is a great teammate, being a fairy type. It can get rid of all those dark type Pokemon. So that's a great partner there for sure. Really, really, really good. Any other fairy types are good too, like Fluttermane. That's good as well. The usual suspects. They can get around those dark type Pokemon very, very easily. Because it's got that flying and psychic type. Kyogre wasn't bad either. I did speak about this already with Hurricane, and you could just it's generally good because you can spam off Hurricanes under Drizzle for 100% accurate. So that would be quite good. Groudon's not bad either. Not so much for Hurricane, but it's good for those electric type Pokemon. That would be good to get around any of those, or rock type Pokemon. That's a good partner too. And you can still pick Air Slash if you have like a drought Pokemon. You don't have to have Hurricane. So that's another Pokemon that could definitely work there. We went over Indeedee for that. We went over Indeedee for that set, Psychic Surge. Female Indeedee, so we have Follow Me as well, and we have other stuff like Fake Out and things like that too, well, not on that set. But yeah, Follow Me is going to be very good, and you can get Trick Room as well, so it can set its own Trick Room up. So there are, you've got stuff like that that'll work. I have done an Indeedee guide already. They do learn different moves, so just make sure you look at that before you go ahead and build one. So Indeedee is a good partner for Trick Room. Another good Trick Room partner is Calyrex as well. Calyrex Ice Rider. That's very, very good under Trick Room. It can set its own Trick Room up. It's got enough bulk. So there's some very good partners there for Articuno Galar. Very, very good. As for counters, this thing has quite a few weaknesses. It's weak to Ghost. Yeah, it's weak to Ghost, Electric, Dark, and then we got Rock as well. So it's weak to quite a few different things there. I probably missed one. But yeah, it's weak to quite a lot of things. So any Electric type Pokemon, less like Zapdos. Now we're talking about the legendary birds. You got Electric type like Zapdos would make a good counter. That would. It would definitely cause Articuno a lot of issues. So you got like Zapdos, Ghost Pokemon. Mimikyu might cause it. Well, Mimikyu would be bad because Mimikyu is Ghost and Fairy, and it could set up against that for sure. So Mimikyu would be a good counter, but any Fairy type Pokemon as well would be. You got Fairy and Ghost, which is it's sort of a bad combination there. And then you've got any rock type Pokemon. We've gone over rock types already. We've already gone over rock types. I'll just bring them up again. Garganacl might be a pain as well for it. That would be a pain. Garganacl. So it sort of depends what set you got, but when you look at it, you've got a flying and you've got a psychic move. So steel type Pokemon are very annoying, and rock types as well. So any steel type Pokemon are going to be a pain for sure. You've got Goldengo would be a pain. That would be a pain. And also like Goldengo can fire off Shadow Balls at you too. So that's another good counter Pokemon for sure. And if you try and do any shenanigans, it's got good as gold to sort of stop that too. So you've got quite a few things to actually, to get around that. Tyranitar. That's another good one. Tyranitar with like just crunch and sand. That's annoying for Articuno. That's a good one. Sucker Punch Pokemon. There's a lot of those. Any powerful Sucker Punch Pokemon are going to be like King Toilet, or King Gambit, King Toilet. I like to call it King Toilet, but that's a problem. That's a nasty problem for unless you got stuff, you've got stuff like Psychic Terrain up with Indeedee support. That's going to still be it's still going to be a problem with that because you won't have a lot to hit it with. You'd have to have like maybe Terra type fighting could be a cool way to get around that as well. I was just thinking that could be another like hidden way to get around these dark types. So fighting, so that could be cool. You could hit rock, you could hit steel. Not bad. Like that could be a good idea. Just thinking about that now. And then that way you could hit like King Gambit and stuff too. So that's another way to get around some of those counters. So there's some counters, there's some teammates. Let's have a look at what moves it gets. Is any final sort of thoughts here? So agility, you could try agility on that stored power set, but I find with that stored power set, you kind of run out of moves. It does get light screen or reflect, so you could try that if you wanted to. We've gone over Tailwind, we've gone over Trick Room. You could do a choice spec set as well if you wanted to. That's another option. You could try choice specs and just put Trick on there instead, so that way you can get rid of your item. And I would put on like my most powerful moves on there. So you could do something like that. That could work. Locking yourself into Hurricane's a bit dodge though, unless you have rain. So you might want to pull it back to Air Slash. So that's another option you could go for, a choice spec set. Just sort of rolling ideas around here. We're going to have a Trick Room. It does get double team too. You might be able to do some scummy double team set. That could be useful. It gets Hypnosis, being a psychic type too. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit gimmicky though, with only 60% accurate. It's not too much. It does get Snow and Sun and Rain. It gets all those moves. It gets Skill Swap too if you want to. Maybe you want to give a Pokemon. Maybe you want to give a Pokemon competitive or just get rid of its ability. You might want to do that too. That could be. But this ability is kind of beneficial towards it. So I don't know if you want to get rid of it. That's the thing, you know. And then we've got our special moves. Air Slash. It does get Ancient Power. That is a way to try and boost your stats, but it's just luck. We've gone over that. It does get Future Sight, which is a powerful psychic move too. It's not bad. Hyper Voice is an option if you want to. You might have Hyper Voice on there for Throat Spray. But most of the time you can just use Calm Mind, so maybe not. It does get Shadow Ball too for opposing psychic types. That's an option. And then we sort of went Terra Blast, you know, Fairy or Fighting. One of those ones could be useful there. Or maybe Steel, but not so much for Terra Blast Steel. And yeah, that it does get Dream Eater too. You could have a Hypnosis Dream Eater set. I don't think it would be cool if it got Mean Look. You could do like a fun set with that. Sadly, it doesn't. And then physical moves. Look at this. That's absolutely horrendous. So you can understand why I had that 2 flying moves on my physical set. It's got don't worry, guys. It's got the Mighty Takedown. That's going to be so good. Anyway, everyone, that is it for our Galar Articuno. I did our Articuno earlier on. Galar Articuno isn't a bad special attacker at all. It's got some cool little tricks up its sleeve. It can be a special sweeper. It can be a bulky stored power sweeper. And it also is pretty good in doubles at either being speedy or slow with Trick Room and Tailwind. And that's about it. If there's any Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. I think we're mostly through these legendary Pokemon. I think there's only about 20 or 30 left. And then I might be getting onto some other... I'll get onto like all the other Pokemon then eventually. All right. Peace out, everyone.